come on,
I
walk
think
out.
for me, in my experience in leadership, in a non-Christian setting, is that people take whatever hardships and challenges that they have and try and solve it themselves. It's always about, how can I fix this? What can I do to make it better? How did it happen? Can I stop it from happening or stop it from continuing? And a lot of it is dependent on themselves. And I think the beauty of God and our faith is that we know that we don't overcome this suffering and challenges by ourselves, and that we have God to help us and enable us, and is there for us through the suffering. And God, when He sent Jesus, He didn't promise us like a really good, great, rosy life, and that Jesus Himself suffered in this world, and we too will suffer, whether it is in that really persecuted way for our faith, or if it's like in our secular societies, we will still go through some sort of hardships and challenges. And to know that whatever it is, we have God as the center of our lives, and to choose Him in all circumstances, whether good or bad.
Choosing in all circumstances, whether it's good or bad.
That's a good quote. Yeah, it could be a Facebook status.
Elaborating on top of Shin's point, that you mentioned how the non-Christians or people, the unbelievers, try to solve everything by themselves. I do think that as Christians, we too fall into that category a lot of times as well. And as Christians, a lot of times, if something that we think is possible for us to just like handle it ourselves, a lot of times we just ignore the whole God factor and try to resolve it. And I think in terms of like pain and suffering, and I'm looking more towards not as a global context, but as a personal point of view. Like in the case of grieving for a lost one, or grieving for something that you have hold so and dear, and then just went off, just goes away without your control. I mean, no doubt someone is definitely going to be really, really upset at the time. I mean, we can say whatever we want to that person. We can say that, he's in a better place. We can say whatever comforting words. Not everyone will accept it at that time, because they're grieving. We can't really say stuff and then expect them to like just take it by face value. And for that, I believe that God, in that sense, is a God of healing as well. So like, you can't expect a person who's going through grief and all that to heal straight away, like, as if, we can just heal them, like how Jesus just healed someone, because we're not. But it takes them time to go overcome their grief, and they do hope, there is a hope during the time while they're grieving, is you as a person who's by their side, or you as the person who's grieving, will go back to God and, just like continue meditating on Him, and to like talk to Him, and not just like try to close up that wall around you, and just not close up. Just try not to build a wall around, and basically try to exclude yourself away from everything else. Because when we say God is healing, He also gives to us, and sometimes the resources around us are the things that is our source of healing, which we may or may not, notice it sometimes, but He provides us with tools that we may not necessarily use. So I believe.
Backtrack. Okay, I was gonna talk about justice. How it's interesting that sometimes, although we feel like there's nothing that can be done, it's also actually we know that we can't do anything until, and that's why there has to be a God to do something about this issue, because obviously there's a huge issue in the world. We're all people trying to be good in the world, but there is also huge forces of evil and bad, like, fighting, and that's why there's tension and unsolvable conflict, which is why there has to be a God for this to be fair. And sometimes, although we can't see a way to solve the issue now, that points us to the fact that there is justice gonna come in the future. In the sense that, like, for us Christians, we have hope that although we can't see anything coming out of what we're trying to do now, we can have hope that the justice will be served because we serve a just God. And Yeah, and that doesn't mean to say that we should just like step back and not do anything about it. I think we have a fair share of what we can do about it and what we should do about it. But at the same time, we can have peace in knowing that when we try our best, we know that, cheesy as it sounds, God will do the rest. Because we can't do everything, because we're that small, but we can be a part of the plan to fight for justice. But
yeah. Emily, do you have any thoughts on the issue?